Get ready to explore the most fascinating, weird, and downright surprising sides of Rio de Janeiro, the city that has it all: samba rhythms, postcard beaches, and a swirl of hidden cultural taboos. From questionable hand gestures that can spark unexpected drama to whispered rumors of secret societies lurking behind the neon glow, Rio is a place of endless curiosities. Stick around for these 12 bizarre taboos that'll blow your mind and give you a totally fresh perspective on the so-called marvelous city. Taboo hash 12. The OK and devil horns hand gestures. Rio de Janeiro may seem friendly and relaxed at first glance, but a couple of simple hand gestures can land you in awkward territory if you're not careful. In many places around the world, forming a circle with your thumb and index finger to show OK is perfectly harmless, or rocking out with the devil horns hand sign is just another way to say you love heavy metal. In Rio, these seemingly innocent gestures can raise eyebrows or tempers faster than you'd ever imagine. Some locals interpret the OK sign as a crude reference to a certain body part, and rumors on travel forums claim that using this gesture in the wrong crowd has led to heated exchanges, or, at the very least, nasty looks. Then there's the devil horns, which many cariokas link to accusations of infidelity. Throwing those horns could be read as, "Your partner's cheating on you," which obviously isn't the best conversation starter. Nobody can pinpoint the exact origin of these interpretations. Some say it's leftover influence from older Mediterranean cultural norms. Others insist it's just a twisted rumor that got blown out of proportion. Either way, many visitors have reported that locals seem genuinely bothered by these gestures, so it's safest to keep your fingers to yourself and offer a friendly thumbs up if you really want to show enthusiasm. Taboo hash 11. Beach dress code versus city dress code. Copacabana, Ipanema, and Leblon beaches form the heart of Rio's postcard perfect image. Tiny bikinis and snug men's swimwear called sungas are everywhere, and people of all shapes and sizes wear them without a shred of self-consciousness. Step onto the sand, and it's like a free-spirited world of sunshine and body confidence. The moment you leave the beach, though, the cultural expectations can flip. Wandering through a grocery store in nothing but a damp sunga or a bikini top is often seen as borderline offensive, even though it's only a couple of blocks from the shore. Some residents claim it shows lack of respect for private or commercial spaces, while others say it's just not hygienic or polite. Internet stories abound about tourists being turned away from upscale restaurants for wearing swimsuits under see-through cover-ups. A few rumored incidents even involve taxi drivers refusing rides to individuals dripping salt water all over their seats. Whether these stories are exaggerated or not, the contrast is real. On the beach, minimal clothing is the norm. Away from the shore, it can be a subtle taboo. Most cariokas themselves will pull on shorts and a t-shirt when grabbing a bite or running errands, and they expect outsiders to follow suit. Some might just shrug it off, this is a laid-back city after all. But you might catch a pointed glare or a disapproving comment if you push the boundaries too far. Taboo hash 10. Excessive public displays of affection. Rio may be famous for its steamy samba moves, iconic carnival kisses, and an overall aura of sensuality. But there's still a limit to how much PDA people are comfortable witnessing in their everyday routines. It's perfectly normal to see couples holding hands, sharing sweet kisses, or hugging in a friendly manner on the beach or in a park. Things can shift from cute to cringe if the affection crosses into overly passionate territory at a supermarket checkout line or on a jam-packed subway. Though it isn't always consistent, because carnival time is known for casual makeouts and random acts of flirtation in the streets. Outside those peak festivities, families and more conservative locals might take offense at intense lip-locking. Some legends talk about couples who got scolded at Ipanema Beach by an older local for basically conducting a softcore show in front of everyone. Others say that the cops sometimes warn overly frisky lovebirds to dial it down if a complaint is made. In reality, the dividing line is blurry. People are generally tolerant, but if you're out in everyday situations, especially with families around, you might draw judgmental stares or even stern words if you're going too far. Taboo hash 9. Entering favelas without proper guidance. The hillside favelas overlooking Rio offer some of the most jaw-dropping panoramic views in the city. They're also known for their vibrant street art, powerful sense of community and unique culture that has inspired everything from international music collaborations to critically acclaimed films. But strolling into a favela unannounced can be a huge mistake. Some tourists treat these communities like exotic safari parks, snapping photos of locals from a distance as if they're on display. Residents can see this as not just rude but downright invasive, fueling the idea of so-called poverty tourism. Then there's the reality of crime. Many favelas have territories run by drug factions or paramilitary groups that keep tight control over who comes in and out. If you show up without a community guide or a known local, you might encounter suspicious looks, be questioned, or worse. People trading stories online claim certain favelas are safe enough if you just keep a low profile, but there are tales of robberies and holdups targeting foreigners who ventured in with expensive cameras and zero street smarts. Some controversies swirl around organized tours too. Critics say these tours exploit local hardships for profit, while defenders argue they bring much-needed income and awareness to the neighborhood. Whichever side you take, dropping by a favela without the right approach can break unspoken social rules and leave you in a precarious spot. Taboo hash. 8. Navigating Rio's police and authority figures. Rio's law enforcement scene has earned a mixed reputation. On one side, there are sincere officers working hard to protect neighborhoods and handle the city's complicated crime rates. On the other side, rumors of corruption, harsh tactics, and random stop-and-frisks keep people wary about police encounters. Travelers sometimes hear stories about cops fishing for bribes, either under the table or through veiled threats. Locals might warn you never to flash too much cash or act overly naive if an officer pulls you aside on the street. At the same time, official word from authorities insists that bribery is illegal and strictly punished, and many citizens claim they've never experienced shady dealings firsthand. These conflicting viewpoints create a sense of mystery around how you should behave when faced with a uniform in Rio. Some folks say you can record encounters with your phone for your own protection, while others caution that filming the police without permission can provoke aggression. Everyone seems to agree that politeness and caution are key, especially if you don't speak fluent Portuguese. Delicate as the subject may be, most cariocas still expect you to seek police help if you're a victim of theft or any other crime. It's just that the system isn't always straightforward, and you can easily get lost in bureaucracy or cultural misunderstandings. Taboo hash 7. Brazilian time. Showing up late. If you're a punctual person who likes everything to run like clockwork, Rio might drive you a little crazy. The idea of Brazilian time is in full swing here, especially with cariocas who live by the beach and prioritize the moment over the schedule. Arriving half an hour late, sometimes an hour, isn't just accepted, it can even be expected at casual gatherings. Locals might prioritize one last jump in the ocean or a spontaneous chat with a friend they run into on the sidewalk. Birthday parties, barbecues, and nights out can start a solid 2 hours after the stated time, and no one bats an eye. Online discussions are littered with funny, borderline unbelievable tales of foreigners showing up exactly at 7 p.m. to find the host still showering and the living room a mess of grocery bags. Those who can't handle the laid-back vibe often end up feeling frustrated, especially when nobody apologizes for being super late. Business meetings can be a bit different, as some workplaces that deal with international clients try to enforce punctuality. Still, even in corporate settings, you might notice that on time can mean 10 to 15 minutes behind schedule. Most cariocas shrug off these delays with a smile, chalking it up to the city's lively, flexible spirit, but you may want to brace yourself if you're used to tight timetables. Taboo hash 6. Carnival boundaries, costumes and behavior that go too far. Carnival is the one event that brings the entire world's focus onto Rio de Janeiro. The parades in the Sambadrome, the swirling street parties, the vibrant costumes, everything screams fun, fantasy, and free expression. Yet, even in this explosive festival of color and dance, there are lines you shouldn't cross. Offensive costumes are a big no-no. Locals don't take kindly to outsiders dressing in ways that mock religious symbols, exploit stereotypes, or poke fun at serious social issues. There are whispered stories about a few tourists who wore provocative outfits referencing African Brazilian religions or indigenous cultures, only to be asked to leave a bloco. Others talk about samba schools intentionally sidelining participants who show disrespect, like ditching rehearsals or ignoring the group's choreography rules. Whether or not those stories are always true, they highlight the fact that, despite the raucous party atmosphere, there is real passion and tradition behind every costume and routine. Some people overdo the wild energy by starting fights, harassing dancers, or hogging the spotlight when they're merely supposed to be part of a bigger parade performance. Cariocas might forgive a lot in the spirit of carnival, but crossing the line into disrespect can result in ejection from the fun or a heated confrontation. Taboo hash 5. Food etiquette. From feijoada to street snacks. Brazilian cuisine is a source of pride for everyone in Rio, and it covers a big spectrum. Hearty feijoada full of black beans and pork, fresh pão de queijo that practically melts in your mouth, street-side corn on the cob, and crispy pastel pastries you can snack on while strolling. Locals usually love it when visitors show genuine excitement about trying these dishes, but complaining openly or making a face can come across as insulting. Feijoada, in particular, holds a special place in Carioca hearts. People gather around steaming cauldrons of it on weekends, and families bond over the meal for hours. Turn your nose up at the stew's ingredients, like pig's ears or tails, and you might accidentally offend the person who's hosting or cooking. At the same time, many Cariocas prefer eating certain foods with utensils, even if they're traditionally seen as finger foods elsewhere, like pizza slices or hamburgers. Some older folks might raise an eyebrow if you walk around chomping on a greasy slice without at least dabbing off the oil or using a napkin. Rumor has it that in some places, even hot dogs get the knife and fork treatment. Whether it's a slight exaggeration or not, Rio's approach to mealtime can vary widely by neighborhood and family tradition. If you're not sure, watching how the locals eat is usually the best clue. Taboo hash 4. Disrespecting Afro-Brazilian religions. Rio de Janeiro's cultural tapestry includes deep threads of Afro-Brazilian faiths like Umbanda and Candomblé. You can feel their influence in the city's music, dance, and celebrations, and in gatherings that honor deities known as orixás. Some temples, called terreiros, welcome outside observers, but waltzing in with a sensationalistic or condescending attitude will not fly. Myths and half-truths about voodoo or sorcery pop up on social media, sometimes spread by people who have never actually witnessed an Umbanda or Candomblé ceremony. Locals who practice these faiths are sensitive about being ridiculed or lumped into a caricature of black magic. There are also rumors that filming inside certain terreiros without permission can bring a curse, though others believe that rumor is just a measure to protect worshippers' privacy. Regardless of where the truth lies, Cariocas generally agree that it's taboo to disrespect a religion that's been shaping Rio's identity for generations. Even devout Catholics or evangelicals who don't practice Afro-Brazilian traditions often defend them as part of the city's heritage. If a visitor shows curiosity in a respectful way, many temples will share some of their teachings and let you observe or join in a ceremony. Storm in like it's a spectacle, and you'll likely face offended hosts, or be shown the door. Taboo hash 3. Body image pressures and plastic surgery culture. The white sands of Copacabana and Ipanema are like a catwalk of body confidence. Cariocas parade in all sorts of swimwear that might shock visitors from conservative regions. Yet alongside this celebration of diverse shapes and sizes, there's intense pressure to look your absolute best. Everyone from college students to grandparents hits the gym, chases that golden tan, or invests in cosmetic procedures, especially the famous Brazilian butt lift. Some argue it's become so common that refusing plastic surgery, if you can afford it, is almost an unspoken taboo. Rumors swirl about entire friend groups booking simultaneous procedures and recovering together in special Airbnb rentals. Others talk about clandestine beauty butchers who operate in questionable clinics, offering discounts that come with a massive risk factor. Plenty of legit surgeons practice in Rio, though, and the city is recognized globally for its expertise in cosmetic enhancements. What shocks outsiders the most is the openness. People will casually mention their lipo or implants as if they were discussing a new pair of shoes. Asking a stranger on the beach if their body is natural can still be seen as rude, but some brag about it publicly on social media, turning procedure photos and post-op updates into standard conversation. It's a layered culture. On one hand, Be comfortable in your skin is definitely a vibe in Rio. On the other hand, there's a heavier than expected emphasis on looking toned, taut, and perfectly sculpted. Taboo #2, partying safely in Rio's nightlife. Nightfall in Rio unleashes a whole other dimension of the city, from the pulsating samba clubs in Lapa to the fancy rooftop bars in neighborhoods like Leblon. Dancing, drinking, and laughter flood the streets, and you can feel an electrifying energy that keeps people going till dawn. Still, there's a fine line between having the time of your life and stumbling into risky territory. Locals warn about wearing expensive watches, pulling out the latest smartphone in crowded clubs, or getting too drunk to watch your surroundings. Street smarts become crucial, but ignoring them can offend the unspoken code of conduct here. Nobody wants reckless outsiders bringing trouble or making the place look unsafe. Stories circulate about foreign travelers who wore flashy jewelry and were instantly pickpocketed the second they let their guard down. Others mention that certain back alleys, especially away from the tourist zones, can be hotspots for muggings if you wander off by yourself. Some people claim it's best to stick to big groups or reputable party tours that shepherd you from one venue to the next. Others vow it's perfectly safe if you just keep your senses about you. Either way, the taboo arises when you act like you're untouchable or treat Rio's nightlife as a non-stop carnival without consequences. Most karaokers who party often know how to read the crowd, how to politely avoid shady encounters, and when to call it a night. Expect them to roll their eyes at anyone ignoring these unwritten rules of the nightlife scene. Taboo #1, socio-political divides, avoiding extremely sensitive talk. Rio's postcard beauty sits against a backdrop of tense socio-political issues. Corruption scandals, debates about public spending, and controversies over police tactics often stoke high emotions. Many newcomers assume everyone is eager to badmouth the government or complain about city services. While some locals might do just that, others bristle at the idea of foreigners criticizing their home, especially if the outsider doesn't fully grasp Rio's cultural or historical context. Some families are sharply divided over political loyalties, and you don't want to spark an internal feud by saying the wrong thing at a barbecue. The city is full of rumors about clandestine alliances between politicians and criminal factions, about hidden elites controlling the real estate market behind the scenes. Whether or not such claims are true, they highlight how many karaokers feel there's a shadowy undercurrent shaping the city. Jumping headfirst into these conversations with a know-it-all attitude can come across as tone-deaf. Online forums are filled with cautionary tales of travelers who got into heated arguments or lost local friends after making sweeping statements about the city's problems. Rio's reality is complex, and locals may appreciate your curiosity, but they also expect respect for their ongoing struggles. An outsider showing humility usually earns more goodwill than someone who shows up acting like an expert on all things Brazil after just a brief stay. That's the side of Rio de Janeiro most visitors never see highlighted in glossy travel brochures. Yet, these 12 taboos give the city its dynamic personality, an energetic mix of beauty, mystery, pride, and unexpected turns that keep you on your toes. Whether it's a misunderstood gesture, a strict unspoken rule about clothing, or a deep-rooted cultural practice you never knew existed, Rio's taboos can surprise even the most seasoned travelers. They might also inspire you to venture beyond sun and samba cliches and engage with the real heartbeat of the marvelous city.